Have you ever looked at your life and quietly wondered what happened to the timeline I imagined for myself? Not in a dramatic way, not in a hopeless way, but just honestly. Because maybe by now you thought certain prayers would already be answered. Maybe you thought that business would be successful by now. Maybe you thought you would feel more settled by now. Maybe you thought life would finally make sense by now. But instead, you are in a season that feels slower than expected. A season that feels uncertain. A season where your dreams exist, but your results don't fully match them yet. Welcome back to Unmask with Ladon. Today, I want to talk about something deeply personal. And what I am talking about today is what happens when your dreams don't happen on schedule. I think one of the hardest things to process as adults is unmet expectations, especially the expectations we have silently carried for years. I'm sure many of us had a picture in our minds of how our life would unfold. We imagined milestones, we imagined timelines, we imagined achievements, we imagined breakthroughs. We imagined so much. We even imagined becoming successful by a certain age. We imagined arriving somewhere emotionally, financially, spiritually, and even professionally. And when life unfolds differently, it can quietly shake your confidence. Not because you stopped believing in your dreams, but because you're trying to understand the delay. I know what it feels like to carry big visions, to believe deeply that there is more inside of you, to feel called to something greater, to know you have gifts, ideas, potential, and purpose, yet still find yourself in seasons where the external evidence doesn't seem to match the internal conviction. And that tension can be very painful because you start asking yourself questions like, am I doing something wrong? Am I missing something? Why does it seem easier for other people? Why is this taking so long? And if we are not being careful, disappointment slowly turns into self-doubt. One thing I have realized is that delayed dreams can make you question your identity. Because when things don't happen quickly, you begin to interpret the delay personally. You don't even think of it like, oh, maybe my dream is delayed. Rather, you start thinking like, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I am not enough. And that shift in your thought is dangerous because now the delay is no longer just about the timing. It becomes attached to your worth. And if you ask me, I think many people are silently carrying that weight. Many people feel embarrassed that they are not where they thought they would be by now. They feel embarrassed that they are still trying. They feel embarrassed that they are still building. They feel embarrassed that they still have hope after so many setbacks. But I want to say something today, and I hope this helps someone out there. There is nothing embarrassing about continuing to believe in your future. And sometimes I think social media has intensified this feeling for us because every day we are exposed to people announcing their wins, their promotions, their engagements, their new homes, their achievements, their seven-figure businesses, so many celebrations and blessings. And while there is nothing wrong with celebrating people, but constant exposure to other people's milestones can quietly make you feel like your own life is stagnant, even when it's not, because growth doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes growth can be surviving a difficult season. Sometimes growth can be healing. Sometimes growth looks like becoming emotionally stronger. Sometimes growth looks like continuing even when you feel discouraged. And those forms of growth matters too. Personally, I've had to confront the fact that part of my frustration came from trying to control my timing. I wanted things to happen as I planned and when I planned them. I wanted clarity immediately. I wanted results, not even fast, but now. I wanted confirmation that my efforts were working. But life has a way of humbling us because it doesn't give us immediate evidence. We all know you have to plant the seeds long before you see the fruits. Sometimes you have to walk in silence long before people will even notice you. Sometimes you are becoming the person your future requires even before the future itself arrives. And that process can feel invisible, but you just have to trust it. One of the most difficult things about delayed dreams is remaining hopeful without becoming exhausted. And I'm not even going to lie or pretend here. Disappointment has a way of draining our expectation. After long delays, you stop getting excited. You stop dreaming openly. You stop believing fully. You become cautious with hope. And this has nothing to do with you being negative. It's just because disappointment hurts. And maybe that's where many people are right now. Tired of hoping, tired of trying, tired of waiting, tired of believing for things they cannot yet see. But I'll tell you one thing I am learning lately. A delayed dream is not automatically a denied dream. And what people don't say enough is, slow progress is still progress. I know those phrases may sound simple, but sometimes we need simple truth repeated during difficult seasons. Because when life feels slow, the temptation is to assume nothing is happening. Meanwhile, beneath the surface, so much is happening. I will share with you some of the so much that is happening beneath the surface. Your mindset is changing, your character is developing, your perspective is maturing, your resilience is growing, your foundation is strengthening. And more often than not, that internal work is preparing you for the external reality you are praying for. This is what I am learning myself. Some seasons are less about achievement and more about formation. Less about applause and more about alignment. Less about proving yourself and more about discovering yourself. And just maybe that's why this podcast matters so much to me. Because I am no longer interested in pretending every season feels victorious or wearing a mask like every season feels good. I know better now. Some seasons feel confusing, some seasons feel quiet, some seasons feel hidden, but there is one thing I believe. All these seasons still have value. If you're listening today or watching me today and you're struggling with the gap between where you are and where you hoped to be, I want you to hear this carefully. Your life is not behind simply because it looks different from your expectations. Let me say that again. Your life is not behind simply because it looks different from your expectations. Your value has not decreased because your timeline changed. And your future is not ruined because the journey took longer than you expected. Sometimes life unfolds slowly because depth takes time, healing takes time, wisdom takes time, character takes time, and becoming who you truly are takes time too. I think we need to change the question we ask ourselves. Instead of asking, why is this taking so long? We sometimes should ask, what is this season teaching me that success alone could never? Because some lessons only emerge in waiting seasons. Some form of strength only emerge in uncertainty. And some versions of yourself can only be discovered when life forces you to slow down. So today, I am not leaving you with a question like I always do. Rather, I want to leave you with a thought, which is, do not abandon your dreams simply because they are taking longer than expected. Do not measure your worth by your timeline. And do not assume nothing is happening simply because everything is not happening yet. Your story is still unfolding. Your growth is still unfolding. Your becoming is still unfolding. I hope this message meets you right where you are today. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Unmask with Ladon. And I will see you in the next episode. Until then, remember, slow seasons are still meaningful seasons. Bye for now. Toodles.